You know what's strange? We charge our phones every night, but we wake up mentally drained. We scroll through other people's perfect mornings, while our own mind is already at war with itself. But what if I told you that Buddhist monks discovered something thousands of years ago, something so simple that it takes less than 2 minutes, yet it can completely rewire how your entire day unfolds? Today, I'm sharing 6 ancient phrases that, when you tell yourself each morning, don't just change your mood, they change your life. And the science now proves they were right all along. Let's begin. Before we dive in, let me ask you something honest. What's the first thing that enters your mind when you wake up? For most people, it's worry, it's stress, it's that mental checklist of everything that could go wrong today. In Buddhist teaching, there's a concept called first thought, the very first seeds you plant in your mind each morning. These seeds grow throughout the day. If you plant worry, you harvest anxiety. If you plant peace, you harvest calmness. The monks understood this 2,000 years ago, and we're just now catching up. Scientists at the University of Pennsylvania studied morning routines and found that the first 10 minutes after waking up set your brain's pattern for the next 16 hours. Your morning thoughts literally create neural pathways. This isn't just spirituality, it's neuroscience. Now, these aren't just positive affirmations. You're not lying to yourself in the mirror saying, "I'm a millionaire," when your bills are due. No. These 6 phrases are different because they're based on truth, not fantasy. They align with how life actually works. They don't require you to believe something fake. They simply remind you of what's already real. So let's go through each one. I'll explain what it means, why it works, and how to use it starting tomorrow morning. The first one alone changed everything for me. Today I choose peace over reaction. The first thing you need to tell yourself every morning is this: today I choose peace over reaction. Now, let me explain why this is so powerful. Most people wake up and immediately enter reactive mode. The phone buzzes, an email comes in, someone says something that bothers you, and boom, your peace is gone. You're no longer in control. You're just reacting to whatever life throws at you. But Buddhism teaches us something profound. There's a space between what happens to you and how you respond. In that space lies your power. Buddha said, holding on to anger is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. When you react from emotion, from anger, from frustration, you're the one who suffers most. The other person might not even notice, but you'll carry that tension in your body all day long. Your shoulders get tight, your jaw clenches, your heart rate increases. Science calls this the stress response. And when it's triggered first thing in the morning, it sets your nervous system on edge for hours. So when you wake up and say, "Today I choose peace over reaction," you're making a conscious decision. You're telling your brain, no matter what happens today, I will pause before I respond. This doesn't mean you become passive. It doesn't mean people can walk all over you. It means you respond with clarity instead of chaos. There's a huge difference. A reaction is automatic, a response is intentional. Let me give you a real example. Imagine you wake up, check your messages, and there's a text from someone criticizing something you did. The reactive person immediately fires back a defensive message. Their whole morning is ruined. They're replaying the conversation in their head while brushing their teeth, while making breakfast, while driving. But the person who chose peace, they read the message, they feel the initial sting, sure, but then they pause. They take a breath. They ask themselves, is this worth my peace? Sometimes the answer is yes, and they respond calmly later. Sometimes the answer is no, and they let it go completely. Buddhist monks practice something called mindful response. Before they speak or act, they check in with themselves. They ask, am I responding from wisdom or from emotion? Am I acting to solve a problem or just to release my frustration? This simple check changes everything. When you choose peace over reaction, you're protecting your mental energy. Think about it like this. You wake up with a full battery of peace. Every time you react emotionally to something, you drain that battery. By noon, you're exhausted, irritable, and you don't even know why. But when you guard your peace, when you choose not to react to every little thing, you keep that battery charged. The neuroscience backs this up too. When you practice pausing before reacting, you're strengthening your prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain responsible for rational thinking and emotional regulation. You're literally rewiring your brain to be calmer. Over time, this becomes automatic. Things that used to set you off don't bother you anymore. You become the calm person in the room, not because nothing affects you, but because you've trained yourself to choose peace. So tomorrow morning, before you check your phone, before you talk to anyone, just say it out loud or in your mind. Today I choose peace over reaction. Feel what that means. Remind yourself that you have the power to respond instead of react. That single decision will transform your entire day. Now let's move to the second powerful thing you must tell yourself. I am enough right now. The second thing you must tell yourself every morning is, I am enough right now. This might be the hardest one to believe, but it's also the most liberating. We live in a world that constantly tells us we're not enough, not successful enough, not attractive enough, not wealthy enough, not productive enough. We scroll through social media and see people living their highlight reels while we're stuck in our behind-the-scenes struggles. We compare our chapter 2 to someone else's chapter 20, and we feel like failures. Buddhism calls this the trap of endless becoming. We're always trying to become something else, something better, something more, and we forget to simply be. Buddha taught that suffering comes from craving, from this constant feeling that we need more to be complete. We think, I'll be happy when I get that promotion. I'll be worthy when I lose this weight. I'll be enough when I achieve that goal. But here's the truth that Buddhism reveals. You were already whole from the beginning. You don't need to earn your worthiness. You don't need to prove your value. You are enough simply because you exist. This isn't about being lazy or stopping growth. It's about recognizing that your value as a human being isn't tied to your achievements. When you wake up and tell yourself, I am enough right now, you're breaking free from the exhausting cycle of proving yourself. You're saying, yes, I have goals. Yes, I want to grow. But my worth isn't dependent on reaching them. This creates a completely different energy. Instead of striving from a place of lack, you start creating from a place of wholeness. Instead of trying to fill a void, you're expressing what's already inside you. Think about a tree. A small tree doesn't feel inadequate because it's not as tall as the old oak. It doesn't compare itself to other trees. It simply grows at its own pace, trusting the process. It's enough as a young tree, and it will be enough as an old tree. Somewhere along the way, we humans forgot this natural truth. We started measuring our enoughness by external standards. How much money we make, how many likes we get, how we look compared to others. Research in psychology shows that people who practice self-acceptance have lower levels of anxiety and depression. When you stop fighting yourself, when you stop believing you need to be different to be worthy, your whole body relaxes. You stop living in constant tension. You make better decisions because you're not desperately trying to prove something. You build healthier relationships because you're not seeking validation from others. So tomorrow morning, look at yourself and say, I am enough right now. Not when you accomplish more, not when you fix all your flaws. Right now, in this moment, with all your imperfections and unfinished goals. You are enough. And from that place of enoughness, you can grow into whoever you want to become. Not because you have to, but because you want to. I release what I cannot control. The third powerful thing to tell yourself every morning is, I release what I cannot control. This simple phrase holds the key to ending so much unnecessary suffering. Think about how much energy you waste every single day trying to control things that are completely beyond your power. You stress about the weather ruining your plans. You worry about what people think of you. You replay conversations, trying to control how they should have gone. You lose sleep over outcomes that haven't even happened yet. And here's the painful truth. None of that worry changes anything. It only drains you. Buddhism teaches the principle of letting go, and it's one of the most misunderstood concepts. People think letting go means giving up or not caring. That's not it at all. Letting go means understanding the difference between what you can influence and what you cannot. It means putting your energy where it actually matters. The Serenity Prayer captures this perfectly. Grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and wisdom to know the difference. That wisdom, that's what we're talking about here. When you hold on to things beyond your control, you create suffering for yourself. Imagine trying to stop the rain by standing outside and yelling at the clouds. That's what we do mentally every day. We yell at situations that won't change. We grip tightly to outcomes we can't guarantee. We demand that life unfold according to our plans, and when it doesn't, we feel anxious, angry, defeated. Buddha called this attachment, and he said it's the root of all suffering. We attach to specific outcomes, to how things should be, to our expectations, and when reality doesn't match, we suffer. Let me give you a practical example. You have an important meeting today. You can control how well you prepare. You can control showing up on time. You can control being present and doing your best, but you cannot control whether they like your presentation. You cannot control their mood. You cannot control their final decision. So where should your energy go? Into your preparation and your presence. That's it. The rest, you must release. When you release what you cannot control, something magical happens. You stop wasting energy on worry and you channel it into action on what actually matters. There's a beautiful Zen story about two monks walking by a river. They see a woman who needs to cross but can't because the current is too strong. One monk picks her up, carries her across and sets her down. Hours later, the other monk is still bothered. He finally says, "We're not supposed to touch women. Why did you carry her?" The first monk replies, "I set her down hours ago. Why are you still carrying her?" That's what holding on to things you cannot control does. You carry them for hours, days, years, and they weigh you down. Modern psychology calls this radical acceptance. Studies show that people who practice acceptance have significantly lower stress levels and better mental health. It's not about being passive, it's about being wise with your energy. You focus on your effort, not the outcome. You focus on your response, not other people's actions. You focus on this moment, not the unchangeable past or the uncertain future. So when you wake up tomorrow, say it clearly, "I release what I cannot control." Feel the weight lift off your shoulders. Identify one thing you've been gripping too tightly and consciously let it go. Trust that some things are meant to unfold in their own way, in their own time. Your job is not to control everything. Your job is to show up fully for what's in front of you. I am grateful for this breath. The fourth thing you must tell yourself every morning is, I am grateful for this breath. Now, this might sound too simple, almost too obvious, but stay with me, because this is where everything shifts. We chase big things. We want the dream job, the perfect relationship, the financial freedom, the recognition. And there's nothing wrong with wanting those things. But in chasing what we don't have, we completely miss what we already possess. Right now, in this very moment, you are breathing. Your heart is beating. Your body is functioning. You are alive. And that, my friend, is not a small thing. That is everything. Buddhism places enormous importance on the breath because it's the one thing that keeps you anchored to the present moment. You cannot breathe in the past. You cannot breathe in the future. You can only breathe right now. When you say, I am grateful for this breath, you're not just expressing thankfulness, You're pulling yourself out of mental time travel. Most of us spend our mornings already living in the afternoon. We're thinking about the meeting at 2, the deadline on Friday, the conversation we need to have next week. Our body is here, but our mind is everywhere else. The breath brings you back. There's a famous Buddhist teaching that says, the past is already gone, the future is not yet here. There's only one moment for you to live, and that is the present moment. Your breath is the bridge to that moment. Every inhale is a gift. Every exhale is a release. When you wake up and acknowledge your breath with gratitude, you're starting your day from a place of abundance instead of lack. You're saying, before I worry about what I don't have, let me appreciate what I do have. Research from Harvard Medical School shows that people who practice gratitude have stronger immune systems, lower blood pressure, and better sleep quality. But here's what's even more interesting. Gratitude literally rewires your brain. When you consistently focus on what you're grateful for, your brain starts looking for more things to be grateful for. It's like training a muscle. The more you practice gratitude, the more naturally it comes to you. You start noticing small blessings you used to overlook. The warmth of sunlight, the taste of your morning tea, the fact that you woke up today when millions of people didn't. Let me tell you why starting with the breath specifically is so powerful. It's universal. It doesn't matter if you're rich or poor, healthy or sick, young or old, everyone breathes. You don't need anything external to practice this gratitude. You don't need to wait for good news or a lucky break. Your breath is always with you. It's the most loyal companion you'll ever have. From your first moment on this earth to your last, your breath is there. And yet, how often do we actually notice it? How often do we thank it? When you acknowledge your breath each morning, you're also acknowledging your aliveness. You're saying yes to another day. You're recognizing that you have another chance to make a difference, to love deeply, to learn something new, to be kind to someone. So many people went to sleep last night and didn't wake up this morning, but you did. That's not luck. That's a gift. And gifts deserve gratitude. Here's a simple practice you can do. Tomorrow morning, before you reach for your phone, before you jump into your mental to-do list, just take 3 deep breaths. On the first breath, silently say, I am grateful. On the second breath, say, for this breath. On the third breath, say, and this new day. That's it, 10 seconds. But those 10 seconds set a completely different tone. You're no longer starting from anxiety or stress. You're starting from gratitude and presence. The monks say that if you can be grateful for your breath, you can be grateful for anything. Because if you truly understand the miracle of breathing, of being alive, everything else becomes a bonus. The challenges, the joys, the mundane moments, they're all part of this incredible experience of being human. And it all begins with a single breath. So breathe deeply and be grateful. I will be kind, starting with myself. The 5th thing you must tell yourself every morning is, I will be kind, starting with myself. This is where most people get it backwards. We're taught to be kind to others, to be compassionate, to help those in need. And yes, that's beautiful and necessary. But we forget the most important person in that equation, ourselves. We talk to ourselves in ways we would never talk to our worst enemy. We criticize every mistake. We replay our failures on repeat. We call ourselves stupid, lazy, worthless. And then we wonder why we feel so exhausted and empty. Buddhism teaches the concept of metta, which means loving kindness. And it always begins with yourself. Not because you're selfish, but because you cannot pour from an empty cup. If you're harsh and cruel to yourself, that harshness spills onto everyone around you. Think about it. When you're beating yourself up internally, how patient are you with others? How generous is your spirit? Not very. But when you treat yourself with compassion, when you forgive your own mistakes, you naturally extend that same grace to the people in your life. Here's what self-kindness actually looks like. It's talking to yourself like you would talk to a good friend. When you mess up, instead of saying, "I'm such an idiot," you say, "I made a mistake, and that's okay. I'm learning." When you look in the mirror, instead of focusing on every flaw, you acknowledge your humanity. When you feel tired, instead of pushing through and calling yourself weak, you rest without guilt. This isn't about lowering standards or making excuses. It's about treating yourself like a human being who's doing their best. Research in psychology shows that self-compassion is directly linked to emotional resilience. People who are kind to themselves recover from setbacks faster. They have less anxiety and depression. They're more motivated, not less, because they're not paralyzed by fear of failure. When you know you'll treat yourself kindly even if you fail, you're more willing to try new things, take risks, and grow. But here's the deeper truth. When you're kind to yourself, you stop needing validation from the outside world. You stop bending yourself into shapes to please others. You stop tolerating disrespect because you know your own worth. Self-kindness isn't weakness. It's the foundation of genuine strength. The Buddha himself said, "You yourself, as much as anybody in the entire universe, deserve your love and affection." So tomorrow morning, put your hand on your heart and say, "I will be kind to myself today." When negative self-talk creeps in, pause and ask, "Would I say this to someone I love?" If the answer is no, don't say it to yourself. Speak gently. Forgive quickly. Treat yourself with the same tenderness you wish the world would show you. Because kindness starts at home, and home is within you. Today is a fresh beginning. The sixth and final thing you must tell yourself every morning is, today is a fresh beginning. This is the gift that many people never unwrap. They wake up carrying yesterday's mistakes, last week's failures, last year's regrets. They drag the past into the present like a heavy chain, and they wonder why they can't move forward. But Buddhism teaches us about impermanence, the truth that everything is constantly changing. The person you were yesterday is not the person you are today. Every cell in your body is renewing. Every moment is an opportunity to start again. When you say, "Today is a fresh beginning," you're giving yourself permission to let go of who you used to be. Maybe yesterday you were impatient with your family. Maybe last week you broke a promise to yourself. Maybe last month you failed at something important. That was then. This is now. You are not defined by your past unless you choose to be. Every sunrise is nature's way of saying, "Here's another chance." The sun doesn't hold on to yesterday's clouds. The ocean doesn't remember yesterday's waves. Why should you? This doesn't mean ignoring your past or pretending mistakes didn't happen. It means learning from them and then releasing them. It means understanding that growth is a process, not perfection. You're allowed to evolve. You're allowed to change your mind. You're allowed to become someone new. The Buddha taught that clinging to a fixed identity causes suffering. When you insist, "This is just who I am," you trap yourself. But when you embrace, "Today I can choose differently," you open the door to transformation. Think about how liberating this is. Every morning, you get a reset button. No matter how badly yesterday went, today is untouched. It's a blank page waiting for you to write something new. You don't have to be perfect. You just have to begin again and again. And again. That's the practice. That's the journey. So when you wake up tomorrow, before anything else, remind yourself, today's a fresh beginning. Feel the weight of yesterday lift off your shoulders. Step into this new day with curiosity and hope. You are not your past. You are not your mistakes. You are this moment, and in this moment, anything is possible. This is your fresh start. Use it wisely. So, there you have it. 6 simple phrases that can transform your mornings and ultimately your entire life. Choose peace over reaction. Know that you are enough right now. Release what you cannot control. Be grateful for this breath. Be kind to yourself first. And remember, today is always a fresh beginning. These aren't magic words. They won't change your life overnight. But if you commit to saying them every morning, if you truly feel them instead of just repeating them, something will shift inside you. Your days will feel lighter. Your mind will feel clearer. Your heart will feel more at peace. The Buddhist monks have been practicing this for thousands of years, and now science confirms what they already knew. Your morning thoughts set the tone for everything that follows. So start tomorrow differently. Wake up, take a deep breath, and speak these truths to yourself. Your future self will thank you. If this resonated with you, please like this video and subscribe for more wisdom. Share it with someone who needs to hear this message. And let me know in the comments which of these 6 phrases spoke to you the most. Until next time, be kind to yourself and remember, every morning is a new opportunity to begin again.